we're in the endgame now. Welcome to another video, ladies and gentlemen. Now, this is something I've talked quite a lot about. But essentially, I wanted to just put a video out there on this particular thing. And this isn't clickbait. I don't have any proof of this or whatever. This is just a bit of a feeling that I've had for a little while now. And it pertains to Cobra Kai being near its end. And I want to shout out a huge friend of mine, Talking Cobra Kai. They're setting it up. So, with that being said, the endgame is more or less just round the corner. Now, we're going into Season 5, and I do want to put this out there. I don't want this show to end. I want it to keep going. This show is a breath of fresh air, and it's just so much fun. It's so much fun to talk about. And in the age of terrible sequels and terrible remakes, aside from potentially Rocky and Creed, Top Gun Maverick, and this, there really isn't a whole lot out there. This is very refreshing, it's a lot of fun, and even its weakest season, Season 4, just my opinion, is still really good. But I do feel like Season 4's ending is very foreshadowing of where this show is going to go. And I think Season 5, if it plays out like how I expect it to, the season of reconciliation, bringing people together and paying off the seeds that were planted way back in Season 1, in the very foundation of this show, I think we are near something of a conclusion for the show. Now, you could continue Cobra Kai for 10 seasons, you could do exactly that. But there's a part of me that really hopes the show doesn't overstay its welcome. You know, really enjoy how good of a show this is, and don't overdo it. The reason why this show is as regarded by us as it is because it's still really good 4 seasons in, and going into Season 5, they still find a way to keep it fresh, keep it fun, lots of new concepts, new ideas, new characters working together. But it's as I've said before, if you really want this show to carry on for another 2 seasons, you need to change or a few seasons, you need to change the fundamental core of this show now. You need to do it now, because already I've seen it sort of set in that people are a bit fatigued by it. And I think the reason for that is because the formula is essentially the same. And I think what this show needs to do now, going forward, is stop this back and forth between Robbie, Johnny and Miguel first of all. Stop this back and forth between Sam and Tori. Bring everyone together and change the dynamic of this show from the very foundation. Change it from the ground up, because that's how you can keep this show going for another couple of seasons. Now, in my opinion, I think Season 7 would be a good place to end it. Season 6 potentially. But if Season 6 was going to be the final season, I think by now we would have probably been told. I could still be wrong on that, but I think the way the show is playing out, Season 5 brings everyone together, Season 6 is uniting against the enemy, and I don't expect it to go anything longer than 6 or 7. I think where we're at in the story, I don't see it going past that, and I think maybe there could be like a flash forward at the end of the show showing you what happens to the characters down the road, and that kind of thing. Or essentially, they might leave the door open, so if they want to continue Cobra Kai 10 years from now, you know, and do a Season 8, for instance, 10 years from now, where maybe Robbie's a sensei, Miguel runs the dealership, maybe Sam's got a job somewhere, maybe Hawk runs whatever, maybe Anthony's running Miyagi-Do. Like, they could totally do that. They could totally do that. But I do feel like I really love this show so much that part of the reason I go back to keep watching it, the part of the reason why I do another Robbie video, or the part of the reason why I talk about it a lot, or anyone talks about it a lot, is because not only is it a breath of fresh air, but it is so good. Everything about this show from top to bottom is fun. The characters are real, they're relatable, the situations can be a bit played up, you know, but that's just done for your entertainment, i.e. Tori and Sam in the school fight. Robbie and Miguel are going to clearly have a spat mid-season again. You know, Hawk demolishing Brooks' face and treating it like an art project. Kreese, you know, doing stuff with snakes and dealerships. Terry doing what he's doing to his best friend. There's so many instances in this show where it's like, ooh, Jesus. Yeah, I don't know if I can let that fly. But I'm all about the foundation of the narrative, and in the Karate Kid trilogy, the police sucked in that as well, so it's nothing new. But essentially, the show is so good, I really want it to end on a high, and this is something I've been thinking a lot about, because season 5 I think will lay the foundation for the ending, and I think season 4's finale is very reflective of that, because episode 9 is titled The Fall and episode 10 is titled The Rise. And what happens? You know, Miguel goes to Mexico to find out his true origin, where he comes from, his identity. Robbie comes home finally. Tori's on the path to redemption and seeing a new way. Sam's going to be redefining herself and her legacy. You know, Eli's reforging his destiny. There's so many reforgings at the moment. There's so much material with these for these characters going forward, where they're turning themselves into something new. And I think the final couple of seasons could literally play out like a Power Rangers like Power Rangers, where you've got all the badass kids fighting a bunch of NPC characters. You've literally got the main kids against a bunch of stormtroopers, because for essentially Terry Silver is basically Palpatine, and Cobra Kai is basically the Empire now. And you've got 9 dojos worth of students. How do you top that? Like, how do you top that? Now, I think we're just in the early stages, so I think we could get at least maybe up to season 7 max. But I think anything past season 7, you're really pushing it. You're really stretching it. And I have full faith that if they did it, I trust in the creators to do it. And, you know, I'm no doubt they'll do an amazing job. But we've seen it happen with shows time and time again. Arrow, Game of Thrones, you know, there's so many out there. You know, even Prison Break, a show that I really like. You know, when you get season 3 onwards, you're like, whoa, how did we get here? You know, and that's what happens, because that's what we call sequelitis, where the more you do it, the more inclination there is to one-up the previous season, but still retain what's true about the original. It's like Fast and Furious. As fun as the movies are, each movie feels like it's trying to be the original, but with more crazy stunts. You know, it's... And with that, you fall into the trap of trying to outdo yourself on the previous attempt. Now, you've got something like Mission Impossible that succeeds at that. It does it amazing. I don't know how. Like, shout out to Tom Cruise. I don't know how he does it, but he does it. But I just feel like with a show like this, I always want shows or movies like these to end on a high so we can go back to them. And I know people will panic and say, oh, but there isn't a new season. That means people are going to forget about it. No, film and TV is forever. No one's going to forget about Cobra Kai. We're still talking about the original Karate Kid today, and that was without Cobra Kai. So it's not going anywhere. Would you rather have it end on a whimper, or would you rather have it end with a bang? And this is why, a big reason I've never made my channel specific to anything, because nothing is ever promised. You know, how many times have we seen it where you're invested in a show or movie and the plug gets pulled? Hell, the Marvel Netflix shows, the same thing happened there. Really engrossed in them, and then that got pulled. Now, maybe they could be restored for Disney Plus, but I'm a bit sketchy on some of them, i.e. Daredevil and Punisher, and how they approach that going forward. But just speaking specifically about this show, I feel like from a storytelling perspective, okay, not from any inside sources or scoops or Billy Bob's movie blog, just my own opinion, I feel like we are approaching that part of the story where we've got maybe 2 seasons after season 5 max. I think we're really building it up. You know, Terry is going to be the big bad, the penultimate big bad of this show, because who do you top Terry Silver with? You can't. Terry Silver is the ultimate bad from the original trilogy, who's now been brought in to take over from the original bad, who's going to probably redeem himself in some way. You know, it's... all these seeds are being planted, and he's got 9 dojos worth. Essentially, Terry's going to be Kingpin. You know, to get to him, you have to go through a dojo. You have to go through another dojo. It'll be like Negan in The Walking Dead. To get to Negan, you have to go through all the outposts and fight different groups of saviors just to get his attention, or just to get him to notice you. That's exactly what's going to happen. And with that level of story, I feel like that's only used when you're really... And we've got CHOZEN in the fold now. We've got CHOZEN in the fold. We've got a female sensei on the roster that communicates to me that Julie Pierce will come into the fold. Mike Barnes is still yet to return. There's so many signs that indicate we are close to the end now. And all I say is just enjoy this. Really enjoy this, because a show like Cobra Kai isn't going to come around for a little while. You know, same with Stranger Things. Like, you know, we are blessed to have two great shows that are running simultaneously at the moment. You know, I mean, Stranger Things Season 4 was fucking incredible. Brilliant. Absolutely amazing. A few nitpicks here or there, but overall really flipping good. And Cobra Kai in general is really good. These shows have really redefined, you know, or not necessarily redefined it, they've brought back what people love about storytelling and movies and shows and why we invest in these things in the first place. And I want Cobra Kai to be remembered as a fun show that everyone loved and that everyone has fond memories of, not a show that fell off towards season 9 because the characters started doing a bunch of random stuff. Like, you know, all of a sudden, I mean, international tournaments could be cool, that could be a good thing. But when it gets to a full-on international tournament, then you know, like, you know, we're really going, like, where do you go from an international tournament? Where do you go? Like, the only way to do it is to ground it and make the students the senseis. Like, that's the only other way. But I'm rambling. But essentially, jump in the comment section down below, ladies and gentlemen. Just let me know, you know, what your thoughts are on this situation. I want to gauge a bit of a consensus as to where people are at with this show. And, again, I do want to say that I don't want this show to end, but I want it to end on a high. I don't want it to end on a whimper. Hell, Breaking Bad, the amount of times I've gone back and rewatched it because it's so good. You know, the amount of times I've gone back and watched the first couple of seasons of Prison Break because it's so good. You know, film and TV is forever. Especially good quality film and TV. It will always be there. Now, even bad quality film and TV is always there. Take a look at Batman and Robin. We're still talking about that because it's so hilariously bad, it's funny. So, you know, we mustn't worry about forgetting it. It's still going to be there. But I just feel like we are approaching that part of the story now where everything's beginning to take shape. We're at the peak of the show in terms of the storytelling. You know, all the seeds that have been dragged out for 4 seasons are now starting to be paid off. And it's going to culminate when Robbie and Miguel join forces. That's essentially what it is. Like, everyone thinks the love triangle is about the relationships between Sam, Miguel, Robbie, and Tori. It's not that at all. The relationship triangle of this show is Johnny, Robbie, and Miguel. It always has been since season 1, since day 1. And now we're beginning the steps to making it, to healing it. Like, a good 2 seasons max. Maybe season 8 could be just a fun season, but by then, you know, you kind of got to a point of where creatively you're stretching it a bit, you know? I do want this show to end with a bang, you know? It's just something that I was thinking about a lot the last couple of weeks as we, you know, move ever closer to season 5. And I'll be just fascinated to hear the consensus of what everyone has to say down in the comment section below. Now, no doubt, just before I end, no doubt there's going to be someone going, "No! I don't want it to end! No!" Listen, I don't want it to end either, but if you give me the choice of 10 seasons of Cobra Kai where I don't even recognize the show that I'm watching anymore, to 7 seasons where it ends with a fucking bang, I would take that. Like, that's much more preferable to me. Much more preferable. Yeah, you know, it's... I mean, how many times have we seen it with shows? Like, especially shows, that they drag it out and it becomes so far removed from what the original intention was about. You're like, am I watching the same thing, or am I just... Look at Walking Dead. Look at what Walking Dead's become. I don't want that to happen to Cobra Kai. I have to force myself to watch Walking Dead. I used to be excited to tune into every episode. Now I'm literally just going, oh, give me my snacks. Let's load up Walking Dead and feel depressed for 45 minutes. Like, it's literally like I have to force myself to watch it. And even though Rick Grimes is potentially coming back, it's like, you know, AMC are doing all these shows and spin-offs and stuff, and I'm like, I don't care. Like, I don't care. Like, end the show. End the show now. Speaking of, end the video now. Guys and girls, jump in the comment section down below. Let me know what you think. Let me know if you agree with any of the points I've raised. And yeah, man, interesting times ahead. Interesting times ahead. And also, I just want to say this one final thing. I'm not saying that the show is going to end. Please don't run with that and spread it everywhere. I'm just saying that I think, in my opinion, the end is near. Peace out.